The mountain air was cold and crisp as Jiho Kim walked along the rocky trail. His breath formed small clouds in the morning darkness. He had been a rescue coordinator for 3 years now. Ever since leaving the military, the quiet life suited him better than taking orders from people who sat behind desks. His radio crackled with static. Nothing unusual. He was checking the trails before the hiking season started. Most people thought this job was boring, but Jiho liked the peace. After years in special forces, peace was exactly what he needed. Then he saw the light. It was blue and bright, streaking across the sky like a falling star. But stars did not fall sideways. Stars did not leave trails of sparking electricity behind them. Jiho stopped walking and watched as the object crashed into the mountain about 2 kilometers away. The impact shook the ground beneath his feet. His training kicked in immediately. Someone might be hurt. He grabbed his emergency medical kit and started running toward the crash site. The terrain was rough, but he knew these mountains well. 20 minutes later, he reached the location. What he found made no sense. The crash site looked like something from a science fiction movie. Twisted metal that seemed to shift colors in the dim light. Pieces of technology that hummed with residual energy. And in the center of it all, a pod that had split open on impact. Inside the pod was a person. At least Jiho thought it was a person. She had the shape of a human woman, but her skin glowed with a faint silver light. Her hair was long and white, floating slightly as if underwater. Blood leaked from wounds on her side and forehead. The blood was red, same as human blood. That was the only normal thing about her. Jiho's mind raced. This was impossible. Aliens were not real, but the woman in front of him was dying, and his medic training did not care about impossible things. He moved quickly to her side and checked her pulse. Her heart was beating, but weak and irregular. He examined her wounds carefully. The gash on her side was deep and bleeding badly. He pressed gauze against it, applying pressure. Her anatomy seemed similar enough to human. She had a heart, lungs, blood vessels. He could work with this. The woman's eyes flickered open. They were violet, bright and strange. She tried to speak, but the words were sounds he had never heard before. Then her eyes closed again and she went limp. Jiho made a decision. He could not leave her here. Even if she was an alien, even if this would change everything, he could not let someone die when he had the skills to save them. He quickly packed her wounds with medical supplies from his kit. Then he carefully lifted her onto his shoulders in a fireman's carry. She was lighter than he expected. He started the long walk back to his cabin. Every few minutes he stopped to check her pulse and make sure she was still breathing. The sun was rising by the time he reached his small house at the edge of the mountain range. Inside, Jiho laid her on his bed. He cut away the strange suit she wore, careful not to cause more damage. The material felt like fabric, but seemed to have electronic components woven into it. He focused on the medical work and tried not to think about the impossibility of the situation. The wound on her side needed stitches. He cleaned it thoroughly and began suturing carefully. Her skin felt warm, almost too warm. He wondered if she had a fever or if this was normal for her species. As he worked, he noticed other differences. Her bone structure was slightly different. Her muscles were denser. She had what looked like a second set of smaller lungs. Hours passed. Jiho set up an IV drip using saline solution. He did not know if it would help, but dehydration killed humans fast and he had to try something. He monitored her vital signs constantly. Her heartbeat stabilized. Her breathing became more regular. On the second day, her wounds started healing at an incredible rate. What should have taken weeks was happening in days. Jiho changed her bandages and watched in amazement as the tissue knitted itself back together. Whatever she was, her body had remarkable healing abilities. He kept her hidden. No one came to his cabin anyway, but he closed all the curtains just in case. He knew he should report this. There were probably government agencies that handled situations like this, but something told him that turning her over to authorities would not end well for her. She had crashed while running from something. Until he knew what, he would keep her safe. On the third day, she woke up. Jiho was changing her bandages when her violet eyes suddenly opened. She looked at him with confusion and fear. She tried to sit up quickly, but her body was still weak. She fell back against the pillow. She spoke rapidly in her strange language. Jiho raised his hands in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. He pointed to himself and said slowly, "Jiho, my name is Jiho." She stared at him for a long moment. Then she touched something on her wrist. The device she touched flickered with light. When she spoke again, the words came out distorted but understandable. You saved me? Her voice was soft but clear through the translation device. Jiho nodded. You crashed. You were hurt badly. I brought you here and treated your wounds. She looked down at her bandaged side, then back at him. You are human. This planet is Earth. Yes. Why did you help me? You do not know what I am. Jiho sat down in the chair beside the bed. You were dying. I am a medic. That is reason enough. She studied his face carefully as if trying to understand a puzzle. My name is Nari. I was fleeing from people who want to kill me. My escape pod failed during the jump through space. I did not mean to come here. Who wants to kill you? Nari closed her eyes. That is a long story, but I am grateful you saved me. In my culture, that creates a debt I can never fully repay. I do not want payment. I just want to make sure you are okay. You truly are a strange creature, Nari said, but there was something like a smile on her face. How long was I unconscious? 3 days. Her eyes widened. 3 days. Then they may have tracked my crash. I need to send a signal to my people, but it must be coded carefully. If my enemies detect it first. She tried to sit up again and winced in pain. You need to rest, Jiho said firmly. Your wounds are healing, but you are not ready to move around yet. Tell me what you need and I will help you. Nari looked at him with those strange violet eyes. Something passed between them in that moment. Trust, perhaps, or the beginning of it. Very well, human Jiho. I will trust you with my life a second time. But know this, if my people come and if they learn what you have done, things will change for you in ways you cannot imagine. Jiho smiled slightly. I left the military because I was tired of following rules that did not make sense. I think I can handle a little change. He had no idea how wrong he was. He had no idea that saving this one alien woman would lead him to become a king among the stars. But that was a story still waiting to unfold. For now, he was just a man who had saved a life because it was the right thing to do. And sometimes doing the right thing changes everything. The next morning, Nari was strong enough to sit up without help. Jiho made her soup using vegetables from his small garden. She looked at the bowl suspiciously before tasting it. Her expression showed surprise. This is good. Simple, but the flavors are balanced well. Thank you, Jiho said. Do you need any special food? I only have what humans eat. My biology is compatible with most organic matter. This will work. She ate slowly, watching him prepare his own meal. You live alone here? Yes, I prefer it that way. A warrior who chooses solitude. That is unusual among my people. Warriors seek glory and recognition. Jiho brought his food to the table and sat across from her. I am not a warrior anymore. I left that life behind. But you have the training. I can see it in how you move, how you assess everything around you for threats. You cannot simply stop being what you are. Maybe not completely, but I can choose what I do with those skills. He ate quietly for a moment. Tell me about your people. Who are you running from? Nari set down her spoon. I am Princess Nari of the Valoran Empire. My mother rules over 47 different species across 300 light-years of space. We are an old civilization, very old, older than your recorded history. Jiho tried to imagine such a thing and could not. That sounds impressive. It was impressive once. Now it is mostly tired. Nari's voice carried sadness. We have become stuck in our ways. Everything is about tradition and bloodlines and which family has more power. I am fourth in line to the throne, which makes me valuable for political marriages. They wanted you to marry someone you did not want. They wanted me to marry Duke Kyungsoo. He is powerful, ambitious, and cruel, but his family controls much of our military fleet. The marriage would secure their loyalty. She looked down at her hands. I refused. Multiple times. Finally, I decided to run. I planned to reach the outer territories where my mother's power is weaker, where I could disappear. But someone tried to stop you. Duke Kyungsoo sent assassins. They damaged my ship during the escape. The faster-than-light drive failed and I ended up here, light years away from where I intended to go. She laughed bitterly. At least I succeeded in disappearing. Jiho thought about this for a while. How long before your people find you? I sent a coded distress signal last night using my wrist device. It will take approximately 2 weeks for the message to reach loyalist forces, then several more days for them to travel here. She looked worried. But if Duke Kyung-soo's people track the signal first, they will arrive sooner. And they will kill me to solve their political problem. Then we need to keep you hidden and safe for 2 weeks. Nari studied him carefully. Why are you helping me? You could turn me over to your government. They would probably reward you. You could become famous. Fame sounds terrible, and governments tend to mess things up. Jiho collected their bowls and brought them to the sink. Besides, you need help. That is enough reason. Your people must think very differently from mine. We do nothing without calculating the benefit first. Some humans are like that too, but I try not to be. Over the following days, they fell into a routine. Nari's wounds healed rapidly, and soon she could walk around the cabin. She was fascinated by everything. She examined Jiho's books, his simple furniture, his cooking equipment. She asked endless questions about human culture and history. You fight wars over resources you could share? She asked one evening. You divide yourselves by imaginary lines on a map? Yes, it is not very smart, I agree. And yet your technology advances so quickly. You went from basic flight to space travel in less than a century. It took my people 3 times that long. Maybe we are motivated by our problems. Nari sat on the porch of the cabin, looking out at the mountains. My people have forgotten how to be motivated. We have everything we need, so we stopped pushing forward. We maintain what we have and fight over scraps of additional power. Jiho sat beside her. Is that why you ran? Because you wanted something different? I ran because I wanted to choose my own path. Even if I did not know where that path would lead. She turned to look at him. You understand that, don't you? That is why you left your military. Yes, they wanted me to follow orders that made no sense. Orders that would hurt people instead of helping them. So I left. And they let you go? Just like that? I had to fight through a lot of bureaucracy. But eventually, yes, here you can choose to leave if you are willing to face the consequences. I wish my empire had that freedom. Nari was quiet for a moment. Tell me about your family, Jiho. My mother Yoonji raised me and my sister Hyerin alone. Our father died when I was young. She worked hard to give us good lives. She wanted me to be a doctor, but I joined the military instead. She was disappointed. Does she know about me? No, I have not contacted anyone since finding you. Too risky. You have sacrificed much to protect a stranger. It is not a sacrifice. It is just the right thing to do. Nari reached out and touched his hand briefly. Her skin was warm. You are a strange man, Jiho Kim, but I think you are a good one. On the 10th day, trouble arrived. Jiho was chopping wood outside when he felt it, a vibration in the air that should not be there. He looked up and saw a shimmer in the sky above the mountains. Something was scanning the area with technology he could not see but somehow sensed. He ran inside. Nari, something is wrong. She was already at the window, her face pale. A scout ship. They found the general area of my crash but not my exact location yet. If they scan this cabin closely, they will detect my biological signature. Then we need to leave now. They grabbed emergency supplies and headed into the forest. Jiho led them along paths he knew well, routes that were hidden by fig trees and rocky terrain. Behind them he heard a high-pitched whine. The scout ship was coming closer.
They are doing a grid search, Nari whispered.
Very thorough. We cannot outrun their scanners on foot, Jiho thought quickly. Can they detect you through water? Water? I do not know. Maybe not clearly. Follow me. He led her to a place he discovered years ago, a cave hidden behind a small waterfall. The entrance was narrow and they had to squeeze through, but inside was a larger chamber. The sound of falling water echoed around them. Stay here. Do not move, Jiho said. Where are you going? To give them something else to look at. Before she could stop him, Jiho ran back out into the forest. He made noise deliberately, breaking branches and disturbing birds. He wanted the scanners to detect movement and activity. He led them away from the cave, zigzagging through difficult terrain. The scout ship appeared above him, small and triangular. A beam of blue light scanned over him. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship simply flew away, continuing its search pattern elsewhere. Jiho waited an hour before returning to the cave. He found Nari sitting in the darkness, her face tight with worry. When she saw him, relief flooded her features. You came back. Of course I came back. You could have been captured. Killed even, but I was not, and now they have moved their search elsewhere. He sat down beside her on the damp stone. We should wait here until dark before returning to the cabin. Nari was quiet for a long time. Then she spoke softly. Twice now. You have saved my life twice now. Who is counting? I am. My people have laws about such things. Life debts are serious matters. I do not want you to feel indebted to me, Nari. She turned to look at him in the dim light. What do you want? It was a simple question, but it felt heavy with meaning. Jiho realized he did not have a simple answer anymore. When he first found her, he just wanted to save a life. Now, after days of talking and learning about each other, he wanted... What? He was not sure yet. I want you to be safe, he finally said. I want you to have the freedom to choose your own path. Whatever that path is. Nari moved closer to him. And if my path leads somewhere you could follow? Jiho's heart beat faster. I would need to know where it leads first. So would I. She smiled, a real smile that made her violet eyes bright. But I am beginning to hope it leads somewhere good. They sat together in the cave listening to the waterfall. Neither of them knew that in just 4 more days everything would change. A fleet of ships would arrive. A queen would make a declaration. And Jiho's quiet life in the mountains would end forever. But for now, in this moment, they were just 2 people hiding from danger and finding comfort in unexpected friendship. Sometimes the most important moments in our lives are the quiet ones. The ones where we simply sit with another person and feel less alone in the universe. This was one of those moments. Jiho was making breakfast when Nari suddenly stood up from the table and walked to the window. Her whole body went rigid. They are here, she whispered. Your people? Yes, and many of them. Jiho joined her at the window. At first he saw nothing unusual. Then the morning sky began to shimmer. Ships appeared, materializing from nowhere. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. They varied in size from small craft to massive vessels that blocked out the sun. The largest ship was so huge it looked like a floating city. His phone started buzzing with emergency alerts. Then the television turned itself on, overridden by an emergency broadcast. Every channel showed the same thing. The alien fleet had appeared simultaneously over major cities across the entire planet. Earth's governments were in chaos. A message was being broadcast in all languages. A woman's voice, stern and commanding. People of Earth, I am Empress Hannah of the Veloran Empire. We come in peace, but we come with purpose. My daughter, Princess Nari, crashed on your world 2 weeks ago. We are here to retrieve her. Any person who has aided her will be greatly rewarded. Any person who has harmed her will face justice. Princess Nari, if you can hear this, respond on the royal frequency. Your mother is here. Nari closed her eyes. I should have known she would come herself. Your mother is the Empress? Yes, the ruler of the entire empire. Nari touched her wrist device and spoke in her own language. Then she looked at Jiho. I told her I am safe and will meet her in Seoul. That is your capital city, yes? One of them. But Nari, I should not come with you. This is a family matter. No, her voice was firm. You are coming with me. You saved my life, and I will not hide that from my mother. You deserve recognition. I do not want recognition. I just want things to go back to normal. Nari touched his face gently. Nothing will be normal again. Not for either of us, but I promise you will be safe. You have my word. They traveled to Seoul by car. Jiho drove while Nari looked out at the world she had been hiding in. Every screen they passed showed news about the alien fleet. Some people were panicking. Others were excited. The world had changed overnight. In Seoul, the military had set up a meeting point in a large open plaza. Thousands of soldiers surrounded the area. News cameras from every country were there. Jiho felt overwhelmed by it all. This was exactly the kind of attention he hated. I should wait in the car, he said. No, you stay with me. Nari took his hand and did not let go. They walked into the plaza together. A small ship descended from the sky and landed smoothly. The door opened and figures emerged. First came soldiers in armor that gleamed like liquid metal. Then came advisors in elaborate robes. Finally came a woman who could only be the Empress. Empress Hannah was tall and regal. Her skin had the same silver glow as Nari's, but seemed brighter somehow. More intense. Her hair was long and dark, and her eyes were a deep purple. She wore armor that looked both ceremonial and functional. Everything about her radiated power and authority. She walked straight to Nari and embraced her daughter tightly. They spoke in their own language for several moments. Then Empress Hannah pulled back and looked at Jiho. Her gaze was sharp and evaluating. He felt like she could see through him completely. So this is the human who saved you, she said in perfect English. Yes, mother. This is Jiho Kim. He found me dying at the crash site. He treated my wounds and hid me from both my enemies and the local authorities. He saved my life twice. The Empress circled Jiho slowly, studying him. A former soldier. Special forces by the way he stands. Medical training. Survival skills. Lives alone by choice. She stopped in front of him.
Why did you help my daughter?
Jiho met her eyes steadily. She was hurt. I am a medic. It was the right thing to do. You did not know who she was. She could have been anyone. That does not matter. A person in need is a person in need. Empress Hana's expression was unreadable. Then she spoke loudly, in a voice that carried across the entire plaza. Jiho Kim, human of Earth, you have saved royal blood of the Valoran Empire. According to our oldest laws, this creates a life debt that must be honored. You have earned the highest recognition our people can give. Jiho felt uncomfortable with all the attention. I do not need recognition, Empress. I am just glad Nari is safe. Unfortunately, it is not that simple. The Empress gestured, and one of her advisors stepped forward with a datapad. My daughter was not simply fleeing assassins. She was fleeing an arranged marriage to Duke Kyungsoo. A marriage that would unite two powerful houses and strengthen the empire. Nari stepped forward. Mother, I told you I would never marry him. I know, daughter, and I have come to respect your choice. The Empress looked back at Jiho. But a choice requires an alternative. You saved my daughter when others would not have. You protected her without asking for reward. You have proven your worth in ways that matter more than bloodlines. Jiho felt a sense of dread building. What are you saying? By the ancient law of life debt and by my authority as Empress, I declare that Jiho Kim has earned the right to marry Princess Nari. Furthermore, he will be crowned as Prince Consort and will rule at her side. The plaza erupted in noise. Reporters shouted questions. Soldiers murmured to each other. Jiho stood frozen in shock. Wait, he finally managed to say. You cannot just decide that. What about what I want? What about what Nari wants? Empress Hana's expression softened slightly. What my daughter wants is freedom to choose her own partner. What I want is for her to marry someone who has proven his character. What you want, Jiho Kim, I do not yet know. But I am giving you a choice. What choice? Refuse this honor, and Nari will be forced to marry Duke Kyungsoo for political stability. Accept this honor, and Nari gains the freedom she desires with a partner who has already proven he values her life over his own comfort. The Empress stepped closer. I do not offer this lightly. You would become part of the royal family. You would have responsibilities across 300 light years of space. Your life would never be simple again. Jiho looked at Nari. She was watching him with fear and hope mixed together. He could see what this meant to her. Freedom from a cruel marriage. A chance to choose her own path. But it came at a cost to him. A huge cost. I need time to think, he said. You have 24 hours, the Empress replied. We will remain in orbit. When you have decided, contact my daughter. But know this, human. I have read your history. Your people have a saying about great power and great responsibility. That is what I am offering you. Consider wisely. The Empress and her guards returned to their ship. Nari stayed behind with Jiho. The soldiers cleared the plaza, giving them space. They stood together in the sudden quiet. I am sorry, Nari said. I did not expect this. What do you want me to do? Jiho asked. I want you to be happy. If that means refusing, I will understand. I will find another way. There is no other way, is there? Not really, Nari looked down. Probably not. My mother is kind in her own way, but she is also practical. She needs this marriage to happen for political reasons. If not Kyungsoo, then someone. She is choosing you because you earned it, but also because it solves her problem. So I can either condemn you to an unhappy marriage or agree to something I never asked for. Yes, I am sorry, Jiho. You saved me, and now I have become a burden to you. Jiho was quiet for a long time. He thought about his quiet life in the mountains. He thought about his mother and sister. He thought about the simplicity he had fought so hard to find. All of that would end if he agreed. But he also thought about Nari, about their conversations over simple meals, about hiding together in the cave while danger passed, about the way she looked at him with hope for a different future. I need to go home, he said. I need to think. I understand. They did not hold hands on the drive back. Both of them were lost in their own thoughts about futures that had suddenly become very complicated. Above them, the massive fleet waited in orbit. The whole world watched and wondered what would happen next. Ji-ho Kim, the man who just wanted a quiet life in the mountains, now held the fate of an interstellar princess in his hands. And he had one day to decide if he was brave enough to become a king. Ji-ho sat alone on the porch of his cabin. It was the same place where he and Nari had talked just days ago. Everything looked the same, but nothing felt the same. The world had changed too much too fast. His phone would not stop ringing. Government officials wanted to talk to him. News organizations wanted interviews. Even old friends from the military were calling. He ignored them all. He needed silence to think. But silence did not come. A car pulled up to his cabin in the afternoon. His friend Taiyang got out. They had served in special forces together before Ji-ho quit. Taiyang was one of the few people who understood why he left. "You look terrible," Taiyang said, sitting down beside him. "I feel terrible. The whole world is talking about you. Alien princess, royal marriage. It sounds like a movie." "It feels like a nightmare," Ji-ho replied. Taiyang was quiet for a moment. "What are you going to do?" "I do not know. How do you make a choice like this? Either way, someone gets hurt. Tell me about the princess. What is she like?" Ji-ho thought about how to answer. "She is smart, brave. She wants to be more than what her family expects. She wants freedom to choose her own path." "Sounds like someone else I know." "What do you mean?" "You, brother. You left the military for the same reason. You wanted to choose your own path instead of following orders that made no sense." Taiyang leaned back against the porch railing. "Maybe you two are more similar than you think." "That does not make this easier." "No, it does not. But let me ask you something. Do you care about her?" Ji-ho hesitated. "Yes, I think I do. These past 2 weeks we talked about everything. I learned about her world and she learned about mine. She is more than just a princess. She is a person who wants something real in her life. And what do you want?" "I want peace. I want simplicity. I want to wake up without the weight of responsibility crushing me." "Is that really what you want? Or is that just what you tell yourself?" Ji-ho looked at his friend sharply. "What is that supposed to mean?" "You left the military because you were tired of following bad leaders. You wanted responsibility that meant something. Maybe this is your chance." Taiyang stood up. "I am not telling you what to do. Only you can decide. But do not hide from this choice because you are afraid. That is not who you are." After Taiyang left, Ji-ho sat alone again, but his friend's words stayed with him. Was he hiding from responsibility or seeking peace? He did not know anymore. As evening fell, another visitor arrived. This time it was Nari. She came alone, without guards or ceremony. She looked tired and worried. "I should not be here," she said, "but I needed to see you." "Come in." They sat at his small kitchen table. Ji-ho made tea, and they drank in comfortable silence for a while. Finally, Nari spoke. "I want to tell you the truth about my empire, about what it has become." "Okay." "We used to be great. We explored the stars and brought together dozens of species. We built cities on 1,000 worlds. We created art and science that changed the galaxy." Her voice grew sad. "But that was long ago. Now we are corrupt. Noble families fight over power while common people suffer. We have the technology to solve problems, but we do not use it because helping others does not increase anyone's status." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because if you accept my mother's offer, you will be stepping into this broken system. You will have power, yes, but you will also have enemies. People who hate change. People who see you as an outsider who does not deserve a place in our government." She looked directly at him. "I am telling you this so you understand what you are choosing." "And what are you choosing?" Ji-ho asked. "I want you to say yes. I will not lie about that. Not just because it saves me from Kyung-soo, but because—" She paused, choosing her words carefully. "These 2 weeks with you showed me what real partnership could be. Someone who cares about doing the right thing more than gaining power. Someone who sees me as a person, not a political tool. You barely know me. I know you saved my life without hesitation. I know you protected me when you could have gained fame by turning me in. I know you ask questions and think about answers instead of just accepting what you are told." She reached across the table and took his hand. "I know enough, Ji-ho. What if I am not strong enough for this? What if I fail? Then we fail together. But I think you are stronger than you believe." After Nari left, Ji-ho could not sleep. He walked through the dark forest thinking about everything. His mother called, and this time he answered. "Jiho, what are you going to do?" Yunji asked. Her voice carried both worry and curiosity. "I do not know, Mom. This is too big. How can I become a prince of an alien empire? I can barely manage my own life." "That is not true. You managed fine in Special Forces. You manage fine now. You think you are not ready for responsibility, but you have always handled it when it mattered." She was quiet for a moment. "Do you love this girl?" I think I could, with time." "Then take the time. If you say yes, you are not promising to love her today. You are promising to try. That is all any marriage is at the start, a promise to try. But what about you and Hyeron? I would be leaving Earth. We will be fine. And we can visit, yes? They have spaceships." He could hear the smile in her voice. "Do not use us as an excuse to hide from your fear, son. If you want to say no, say no. But be honest about why." After talking to his mother, Jiho sat on the forest floor and watched the stars. Somewhere up there was an entire empire waiting for his decision. It was overwhelming, terrifying, impossible. But maybe impossible things were just things nobody had tried yet. He thought about what Nari had said, about an empire that had stopped growing and started rotting, about common people suffering while nobles played political games, about a system that needed change but resisted it. He thought about why he left the military, not because he was weak, not because he was afraid, but because he refused to follow leaders who cared more about their careers than about their people. Maybe this was not so different. Maybe this was a chance to actually make a difference instead of just complaining about bad systems. And maybe, just maybe, Nari was someone worth taking a risk for. As dawn broke over the mountains, Jiho made his decision. He walked back to his cabin and sent a message to Nari. Just 3 words. "I will try." 2 hours later, he stood again in the Seoul Plaza. This time there were even more cameras. The entire world was watching. Empress Hana stood before him with Nari at her side. "Jiho Kim, have you made your choice?" the Empress asked formally. "Yes, Empress. I accept your offer. I will marry Princess Nari and serve as Prince Consort." The plaza erupted in noise, but Jiho barely heard it. He was looking at Nari. She smiled, and tears of relief were in her eyes. "However," Jiho continued, his voice firm, "I have one condition." The Empress raised an eyebrow. "You dare to make conditions?" "Yes, if I am to serve your empire, I will do it my way. Not as a puppet or a symbol. I will work to help people and fix problems, even if that makes me unpopular with nobles. If you want me to be a prince, then let me be the kind of prince who actually does something useful." For a long moment, the Empress stared at him. Then slowly she smiled. It was a genuine smile, warm and approving. "You have courage, human. More than most of my nobles. Very well, I accept your condition. You will serve in your own way, and we will see if your way is better than ours." She gestured to Nari, who stepped forward. The Empress took both their hands and placed them together. "Before all witnesses, I declare Jiho Kim and Princess Nari betrothed. The marriage will take place in 3 months on Velor Prime. In that time, Jiho will learn our ways and prepare for his new role." "Does this satisfy all parties?" "Yes," Nari said softly. "Yes," Jiho agreed. "Then it is done." As the crowd cheered and cameras flashed, Jiho felt the weight of his choice settle onto his shoulders. He had left his quiet life behind. He had stepped into something vast and complicated and dangerous. But when Nari squeezed his hand and smiled at him with hope in her violet eyes, he thought maybe it was worth it. Maybe some things were worth taking impossible risks for. The stars were waiting, and so was his new future, whatever it might bring. The journey to Velor Prime took 3 days, even at faster than light speed. Jiho spent most of that time staring out the viewport of the flagship, trying to understand the scale of what he had agreed to. Space was bigger than anything he had imagined. They passed entire solar systems in hours. Stars looked like dust from this distance. Nari found him standing at the viewport on the 2nd day. She handed him a drink that glowed faintly blue. "It is safe for humans," she assured him. "We tested it thoroughly. It will help with the adjustment to space travel." Jiho took a sip. It tasted like mint and something electric. "How are you doing?" "Nervous," she admitted. "I have not been home in months, and bringing you there will cause problems." "How bad?" "Some nobles will welcome you. Most will hate you. They see you as an outsider who does not deserve to marry into the royal family." She looked out at the stars. You will have to prove yourself worthy according to our traditions. What traditions? The 3 trials. Anyone who marries into the royal family must pass them. Trial of mind, trial of body, and trial of spirit. They are meant to test if you have what it takes to rule. Can you prepare me for them? I will try. But Jiho, these trials are designed for people who have trained their whole lives. No outsider has ever passed them. Then I guess it is time for someone to be first. Nari smiled at his confidence, but worry remained in her eyes. When they arrived at Velor Prime, Jiho understood why it was called the heart of the Empire. The planet was enormous, twice the size of Earth. Cities sprawled across entire continents connected by bridges of light and transport systems that moved faster than sound. Billions of beings lived here, representing dozens of different species. The royal palace sat on an island in the center of a vast ocean. It was built from material that shifted colors with the light, looking like it was made from captured rainbows. Towers reached into the clouds. Gardens floated in the air using technology Jiho could not begin to understand. Admiral Somin met them at the landing platform. She was Nari's aunt, the Empress's younger sister. She had the same silver skin but with scars from old battles. Her eyes were calculating as she studied Jiho. So this is the human who stole my niece's heart, she said. He does not look like much. Aunt Somin, Nari said warningly. I am being honest. He is small, soft, and has no enhancements. How will he survive the body trial? The same way humans survive everything, Jiho replied calmly. By adapting. Somin laughed. I like him. He has spirit at least. Come, human, I will show you the training grounds. Over the next week, Jiho prepared for the trials. The mind trial would test his knowledge and wisdom. The body trial would test his combat skills. The spirit trial would test his character. Each one was designed to be nearly impossible. Nari helped him study for the mind trial. She taught him about the Empire's history, its laws, its complex political structure. Jiho absorbed everything like a sponge, but it was overwhelming. There were 47 member species, each with their own customs and needs. There were thousands of star systems, each with different resources and problems. The politics made Earth's governments look simple. You cannot memorize everything, Nari said after he spent 10 hours straight studying. You need to rest. I do not have time to rest. The trial is in 3 days. Jiho, listen to me. The mind trial is not about knowing everything. It is about how you think, how you approach problems. Your strength is not in memorization. It is in asking the right questions. Then I hope the judges agree with you. The day of the first trial arrived. Jiho entered a huge chamber filled with members of the High Council. These were the most powerful nobles in the Empire. They would judge if he was worthy to marry a princess. An elderly counselor named Chancellor Minho stood to address him. His face showed clear disdain. Jiho Kim of Earth, you seek to marry Princess Nari and become prince consort. We will now test if your mind is sufficient for this role. Minho activated a holographic display. Here is a scenario. A colony world is dying because their primary resource has been depleted. 3 nearby systems could help, but all 3 have reasons to refuse. How do you convince them? Jiho studied the information carefully. The dying colony was poor and had nothing to trade. The nearby systems were wealthy and had no incentive to help. It was designed to be impossible. I would not convince them, Jiho said. The council murmured in surprise. Minho looked pleased, as if Jiho had failed already. You would let the colony die? No. I would bypass the nearby systems entirely. This colony has a population of engineers who specialized in rare technology before their resource ran out. I would offer to relocate half their population to systems that need those skills. In exchange, those systems provide aid to keep the remaining population alive. The colony downsizes to sustainable levels. The engineers gain new homes. Everyone benefits. The murmuring grew louder. Some counselors looked impressed. Others looked annoyed that he found a solution. Minho presented scenario after scenario, each one more complex than the last. Each time Jiho approached it differently than expected. He asked questions. He challenged assumptions. He looked for solutions outside the obvious paths. Finally, after 3 hours, the mind trial ended. The council voted. Jiho passed, but barely. Many nobles voted against him, including Chancellor Minho. "He thinks like a primitive," Minho said loudly. "His solutions ignore tradition and proper hierarchy." "His solutions work," Admiral Soman countered. "That is what matters." The second trial came 2 days later. The body trial. Jiho had to face a champion fighter in single combat. The champion was a warrior named Deegan, from a species known for their strength and speed. He was twice Jiho's size and had enhancements that made him even deadlier. "This will be embarrassing," Minho said to the gathered crowd. "The human will be crushed in seconds." The fight began. Dagon moved with incredible speed, his strikes powerful enough to shatter stone. Jiho dodged and weaved, using his smaller size to his advantage. He did not try to match strength with strength. Instead, he used techniques from his special forces training. He moved unpredictably. He attacked from unexpected angles. When Dagon swung with massive force, Jiho was never where the warrior expected him to be. He targeted weak points in the armor. He used the environment, throwing sand in his opponent's eyes, using obstacles for cover. The crowd started cheering. They had never seen a fighter move like this before. Dagon grew frustrated, his attacks becoming wilder and less controlled. Jiho waited for his moment. When it came, he swept Dagon's legs and used the larger warrior's own momentum against him. Dagon crashed to the ground. Before he could rise, Jiho had a practice blade at his throat. "Yield," Jiho said quietly. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Dagon began to laugh. "I yield. You fight like a creature much smaller than a predator. But it works. You have my respect, human." The crowd erupted in cheers. Even Admiral Soman looked impressed. Chancellor Minho's face was red with anger. The final trial came a week later. The trial of spirit. Jiho was brought to a poor district of the capital city that most nobles never visited. People here struggled while the wealthy lived in luxury nearby. "Your test is simple," the judge explained. "There is a food distribution center that serves this district. You have been given authority to improve it. However, you have also been given a valuable trade opportunity that would make you personally wealthy. You cannot do both. Choose." Jiho did not hesitate. He walked to the food distribution center and spent the entire day talking to people. He learned about their problems. He organized volunteers. He used his authority to redirect resources from wealthy districts that had excess. By the end of the day, the distribution center was running efficiently and serving twice as many people. He never even looked at the trade opportunity. When the judges asked why, Jiho said, "You gave me a choice between helping people who need it and helping myself. That is not really a choice at all. Any decent person knows which one matters." The judges conferred. Then they announced, Jiho passed the spirit trial with the highest marks given in 50 years. That night, the Empress summoned him to her private chambers. She studied him with those calculating purple eyes. "You have passed all 3 trials. The wedding will proceed as planned." She paused. "But I want you to understand something, Jiho Kim. I did not create these trials to help you. I hoped you would fail and embarrass yourself, so my daughter would see reason and accept a more traditional match." "I know," Jiho said simply, "yet you persisted. Why?" "Because I made a promise, and because Nari deserves someone who will fight for her, not someone who gives up when things get hard." The Empress was quiet for a long moment. "Perhaps I have underestimated humans. We shall see." She dismissed him with a wave. As Jiho left, he felt the weight of what was coming. He had passed the trials, but he had also made powerful enemies. Chancellor Minho and others like him would not forgive this embarrassment. They would work against him at every opportunity. But he had also made allies. Admiral Somin respected him now. The common people in the poor district had seen him choose them over wealth, and Nari looked at him with pride and something deeper, something that might become love, given time. The wedding was set for 1 month away. 1 month to prepare for a ceremony that would bind him to Nari, and the wedding ceremony combined traditions from both Valor and Earth. Jiho wore clothing that his mother and sister had helped design. It mixed traditional Korean hanbok with Valoran royal fabrics that shimmered with inner light. His mother Yoonji and sister Yerin stood in the crowd looking proud and overwhelmed. Nari wore armor, as was Valoran tradition for royal weddings. But her armor was decorated with flowers from Earth that Jiho had requested. She looked beautiful and strong, a warrior princess ready to rule. Thousands attended the ceremony in person. Billions more watched across the empire. When Empress Hana joined their hands and declared them married, Jiho felt the weight of expectations settle onto his shoulders like a physical thing. "You are now Prince Consort Jiho," the Empress announced. "You share authority with Princess Nari over all matters of state. Use that authority wisely." The celebration lasted 3 days. Nobles came to congratulate them, though Jiho could see the fake smiles on many faces. They did not want him here. He was an outsider, a disruption to their comfortable system. On the 4th day, the real work began. Jiho had been given command of something called the Royal Pioneer Fleet. It was a collection of ships dedicated to exploration and protecting outer territories. But in reality, it was a position with little real power. Previous commanders had used it as a ceremonial title while doing nothing important. Jiho planned to change that. He gathered the fleet's officers for a meeting. Many of them looked skeptical. They had heard about the human prince who passed the trials, but they did not know if he could actually lead. "I know what you are thinking," Jiho said to the assembled officers. "You are wondering if I deserve this command. You are wondering if I am just another noble who got power through marriage instead of merit." "That is exactly what we are thinking," one officer said boldly. He was a gruff warrior named Captain Young-ho. "No offense, Prince Consort." "None taken. You are right to question me." Jiho activated a holographic display showing the outer territories of the Empire. "These regions are neglected. Pirates operate freely because our main fleets ignore them. Colonies struggle because resources go to the core worlds first. Good people suffer because nobody with power cares enough to help." He looked at each officer in turn. "I care, and I want officers who care. I do not care about your bloodline or your family connections. I care about your skills and your willingness to do the job. If you want to be part of a fleet that actually makes a difference, stay. If you just want an easy posting where you collect pay without working, leave now." 3 officers left. The rest stayed. Captain Young-ho grinned. "You might be all right, Prince Consort. What are your orders?" "We start with the Outer Rim colonies. We assess their needs and figure out how to help. Not with charity, but with real solutions." Over the next months, Jiho threw himself into the work. He visited struggling colonies and listened to their problems. He used his authority to redirect resources from wealthy systems that had more than they needed. He recruited talent from unexpected places, giving opportunities to commoners who had good ideas but no family connections. He created something he called the Pioneer Corps. It was a special unit that combined military skill with engineering and medical expertise. They went where regular military would not. They helped build infrastructure. They trained local security forces. They protected trade routes from pirates. The common people loved it. The nobles hated it. "He is disrupting the natural order," Chancellor Minho complained in a council meeting. "Resources should flow based on political importance, not on arbitrary need." "The Prince Consort is making our outer territories more stable," Admiral Soman countered. "That benefits everyone. He is promoting commoners above their station, giving them ideas above their place." "Maybe their place should be higher," Nari said coldly. "Maybe the problem is our system, not the people trying to improve it." The arguments continued, but Jiho kept working. He was making a difference, and that mattered more than noble approval. Meanwhile, Earth was adjusting to having one of their own in alien royalty. Jiho negotiated a formal alliance between Earth and the Valoran Empire. Humans gained access to advanced medical technology and clean energy systems. In exchange, Earth provided cultural consultation and strategic thinking. Humans were good at solving problems in creative ways, and the Empire needed that. Some humans called Jiho a hero who was helping all of humanity advance. Others called him a traitor who had abandoned his home planet for power. Jiho tried not to pay attention to either group. He just kept doing the work. 6 months into his new role, Nari announced she was pregnant. The news spread across the Empire instantly. A hybrid child, part human and part Velaran. Medical scans showed the baby developing normally, which was remarkable. The two species were similar enough to produce viable offspring. It is a miracle, the royal physician Bora declared. This child will be unique in all the galaxy. But not everyone saw it as a miracle. The opposition to Jiho's presence, which had been quietly simmering, now exploded into open hostility. An abomination, some nobles called the unborn child. Impure blood. They formed a coalition, calling themselves the Purity Movement. They believed only pure-blood Velarans should hold power. Duke Kyung-soo, the man Nari was supposed to marry, became the public face of their movement. Prince Consort Jiho and Princess Nari are destroying our traditions, Kyung-soo declared in public broadcasts. They promote commoners and dilute our bloodlines. This madness must end. The Purity Movement began gaining support, especially among traditional noble houses. They controlled approximately 40% of the noble assembly. They had influence in the military. They had resources. They had become dangerous. Jiho increased security around Nari. She was 7 months pregnant now, and he would not risk her safety or their child's. But he also had to address the political threat. We need to show the Empire that our reforms work, he told his inner circle. This included Nari, Admiral Soman, Captain Young-ho, and a few trusted advisors. The Purity Movement claims we are destroying the Empire. We need to prove we are strengthening it. How? Nari asked. She was tired from pregnancy but still sharp. By solving a problem the traditional government has ignored for decades. Jiho pulled up data on a region called the Scattered Stars. It was a cluster of systems on the far edge of the Empire's territory. Pirates had controlled it for 30 years. Multiple attempts to clear them out had failed. You want to take on the Scattered Stars? Captain Young-ho looked impressed. That is ambitious. It is necessary. If we succeed, we prove that our methods work. If we fail, Jiho did not finish the sentence. If you fail, the Purity Movement will use it to destroy you, Admiral Soman said bluntly. The Empress might be forced to strip your authority to maintain stability. Then we do not fail. Jiho took the pioneer fleet to the Scattered Stars. But he did not go in with pure military force. That had been tried before and failed. Instead, he used intelligence and strategy. He sent small teams to gather information. He identified which pirate groups could be negotiated with and which needed to be fought. He made deals with some, offering them legal trade opportunities in exchange for giving up piracy. He coordinated surprise attacks on the violent groups who refused to negotiate. Most importantly, he helped the local colonies build their own defenses. He trained them, equipped them, and gave them the tools to protect themselves instead of depending on distant imperial forces. The campaign took 3 months. When it was over, the Scattered Stars were secure. Trade routes were open, colonies were thriving, and the pirates were either integrated into legal society or captured and imprisoned. The Empire celebrated the victory. Even nobles who opposed Jiho had to admit it was an impressive success. The Purity Movement lost support as people saw that his methods actually worked. But Kyung-soo was not finished. In fact, Jiho's success had made him more desperate. And desperate enemies were the most dangerous kind. Empress Hana called Jiho and Nari to a private meeting. She looked concerned in a way Jiho had never seen before. I have received intelligence, she said carefully. The Purity Movement is planning something. They have been buying weapons and gathering forces. I believe they are preparing to move against you directly. Let them try, Jiho said. Do not be overconfident. They have support from 40% of noble houses. That means they have ships, soldiers, and resources. If they coordinate properly, this could become a civil war. Nari placed a hand on her swollen belly. What can we do? Prepare for the worst. Hope for the best. The Empress looked at them both. I will support you however I can. But my authority has limits. If enough nobles rebel, even I cannot stop them without tearing the Empire apart. Jiho and Nari left the meeting in silence. They both knew what was coming. The Purity Movement would make their move soon. And when they did, everything Jiho had built could come crashing down. That night, Jiho stood on their private balcony, looking out at the Rainbow City. Nari joined him, moving carefully with her pregnant belly. Are you afraid? she asked. Yes, but I am also ready. He put his arm around her gently. We knew this would not be easy. We knew people would fight against change. I just want our child. Jiho was reviewing security reports when the first alerts came in. Ships bearing the symbols of noble houses were refusing imperial authority. They were taking control of military stations and declaring loyalty to Duke Kyungsoo and the Purity Coalition. How many ships? Jiho asked Captain Young-ho. At least 300 warships. Maybe more. They have been planning this for months. Admiral Soman burst into the command center. The Purity Coalition has issued a formal declaration. They claim Empress Hana has been corrupted by outside influence. They demand she abdicate and name Kyungsoo as the new emperor. If she refuses, they will take the throne by force. Where is Nari? Jiho asked immediately. Safe in the palace with your mother and sister. The Empress has activated the Royal Guard. Jiho felt a moment of relief. His family was protected. Now he could focus on the crisis. What about loyal forces? Approximately 60% of the military remains loyal to the Empress. But that includes reserve forces scattered across the empire. The coalition struck first and took strategic positions. Soman pulled up a tactical map. They control key jump points and supply stations. This was well planned. Then we need to be smarter, not just stronger. Jiho studied the map carefully. His military training from Earth combined with months of learning Velaran tactics. The coalition is counting on a direct military confrontation. We need to undermine their support instead. How? The nobles who joined the coalition did so for political power, not ideology. If we can prove they are being used, some might switch sides. Jiho turned to his intelligence officer, a clever analyst named Min Seo. Dig into the coalition's financial records. Find anything suspicious. Min Seo worked fast. Within hours, she had results. Prince Consort, I found something. The coalition has been embezzling funds meant for outer colonies. They have been doing it for years, blaming the missing resources on inefficiency. We can prove it. Send that information to every communication channel across the empire. I want everyone to see what these nobles really are. As the evidence spread, public opinion began to turn. The common people, who made up the vast majority of the empire's population, saw that the Purity Coalition had been stealing from them while claiming to protect tradition. Protests erupted on loyal worlds. Some coalition-held stations faced worker strikes, but Kyungsoo adapted quickly. He increased military pressure on the capital world, Valor Prime. The Empress's forces fought back, but the palace was taking damage. Then came the worst news. The coalition has broken through the outer defenses, Admiral Soman reported grimly. They will reach the palace within hours. Evacuate the Empress and Nari, Jiho ordered. The Empress refuses to leave. She is wounded but still commanding the defense. Jiho felt cold fear. How badly wounded? Blast from a ship-to-surface weapon. She will survive, but she cannot fight. Nari appeared on the communication screen. She was in the palace's medical wing with Empress Hana. Jiho's mother and sister were visible in the background, helping care for wounded soldiers. Jiho, you need to pull back, Nari said urgently. The coalition forces are too strong here. Preserve your fleet and regroup. I am not leaving you. You have to think strategically, not emotionally. They are the same thing right now. Jiho stood up. Captain Young-ho, prepare the Pioneer fleet for a direct assault on the coalition's forward positions. I want every ship we have hitting them as hard as possible. That is suicide, Somin protested. We are outnumbered 3-1. Not if we are smart about it. Jiho pulled up the tactical display and began marking positions. The coalition expects us to defend. They have positioned their forces for a siege. If we attack aggressively from unexpected angles, we can disrupt their formation. You learned this on Earth? I learned this fighting with people who were always outgunned and outnumbered. Humans are good at winning fights we should not win. The Pioneer fleet launched a desperate assault. Jiho personally led from the command ship, coordinating attacks with precision. They hit supply lines. They targeted communication hubs. They used guerrilla tactics that confused the larger coalition force. But it was not enough. The coalition still had superior numbers. They would eventually overwhelm the loyalist forces. Then Kyungsoo made his move. A message came directly to Jiho's ship. Prince Consort Jiho, this is Duke Kyungsoo. I am offering you a chance to save bloodshed. Surrender yourself and Princess Nari. Agree to annul your marriage and leave the empire. Do this and I will call off the attack. Refuse, and I will reduce the palace to rubble with everyone inside. The communication channel stayed open. Kyung-soo was on his personal flagship, which had entered the planet's atmosphere. On the screen, Jiho could see him clearly. He looked confident, victorious. You have 1 hour to decide, Kyung-soo said. Jiho closed the channel and immediately contacted Nari. Where is Kyung-soo's flagship positioned? North of the palace, about 50 kilometers out. Jiho, what are you planning? Something risky. I need you to trust me. I always trust you. Jiho gathered his most loyal officers. I am going to board Kyung-soo's flagship. If I can capture or kill him, the coalition will fall apart. That is insane, Captain Young-ho said. The flagship is surrounded by shields and guard ships. We cannot even get close. You cannot. I can. Jiho explained his plan. It was dangerous and probably stupid, but it was also unexpected, which made it human. 20 minutes later, a small shuttle launched from Jiho's command ship. It was broadcasting a surrender signal. Coalition forces let it approach, thinking the human prince was giving up. The shuttle docked with Kyung-soo's flagship. Jiho stepped out alone, wearing light armor and carrying minimal weapons. Coalition soldiers surrounded him immediately. Search him, their commander ordered. They found his sidearm and took it. They did not find the small blade hidden in his boot, or the compact explosive charges in his armor's lining. Human technology was primitive enough that Valoran scanners sometimes missed it. Jiho was brought to the flagship's bridge. Kyung-soo sat in the command chair looking pleased with himself. The mighty human prince finally admitting defeat, Kyung-soo said mockingly. Where is Nari? Safe, I came to negotiate terms. There are no terms. You surrender completely or I destroy the palace. Then you become a murderer of your own people. You lose any claim to legitimacy. Kyung-soo stood and walked toward Jiho. Legitimacy comes from power. Once I control the throne, history will be written my way. No one will remember or care how I got there. I will remember, Jiho said quietly. You will be dead. Kyung-soo drew a ceremonial blade and moved to strike. This was his mistake. He underestimated his opponent because Jiho was human and supposedly helpless. He forgot that Jiho had trained in close combat against opponents who were faster and stronger. Jiho moved, not with Valoran grace but with human unpredictability. He dodged the blade strike and pulled the hidden knife from his boot. Before anyone could react, he had the knife at Kyung-soo's throat. Order your forces to stand down, Jiho said calmly to the shocked bridge crew. Or your duke dies right now. You cannot win this, Kyung-soo snarled. Kill me and my soldiers will kill you. Maybe, but you will be dead first. And without you, the coalition has no leader. Your alliance of nobles will fall apart fighting over who takes command. Jiho pressed the blade closer. Order them to stand down. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Kyung-soo made a decision. He activated a hidden weapon in his armor, striking backward at Jiho. The two men struggled, crashing into the bridge equipment. Jiho's combat training took over. He used Kyung-soo's own strength against him, redirecting attacks and finding weak points. The fight was brutal and close. Kyung-soo was enhanced and stronger, but Jiho was more creative and more desperate. Finally, Jiho managed to pin Kyung-soo against a control panel. He had the ceremonial blade now, taken during the struggle. He held it to Kyung-soo's throat. Yield, Jiho demanded. Never. Then you are a fool. But Jiho did not kill him. Instead, he spoke loudly so everyone on the bridge could hear. Duke Kyung-soo, I offer you a choice. Face execution for treason or face redemption. Confess your crimes. Reveal who helped you. Work to repair the damage you have caused. Do this and you keep your life. Why would you offer me that? I tried to kill you and everyone you love. Because killing you makes you a martyr. Giving you a chance to choose differently makes you an example. Jiho looked at the bridge crew. This goes for all of you. The Empire needs to heal, not bleed more. Choose mercy over continued war. Kyung-soo stared at him in shock. No one had ever offered him mercy before. In Valoran culture, enemies were destroyed completely. This human concept of redemption was alien to him. Slowly, Kyung-soo made his choice. I yield. I will cooperate. The rebellion collapsed within days. Without Kyung-soo's leadership, the coalition fragmented. Many nobles accepted the offered mercy and revealed information about the conspiracy. Some tried to fight on but were quickly defeated by loyalist forces. Empress Hana, recovered from her wounds, held a public tribunal. The evidence against the coalition was overwhelming. But instead of mass executions, she followed Jiho's example. Those who cooperated faced reduced sentences.